the whole while their dad was just staring daggers at them.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
I've had other experiences like that. A guy came up to me outside a movie theater and he was like, "Hey man, would you mind taking a picture?" And I was like, "No, not at all." And I put my arm around his girlfriend and he's like, "Hey dude, could you take our picture?" Sometimes people will be like, "Oh my god, I love the show, so cool. I watch it with my son," and I will be wanting to end the transaction. So I want to say, I think that they're just trying to get to, can I take a picture? So I say, "You want to take a picture?" And sometimes people are like, "No." And that also feels pretty bad.
I think most people are slightly crazy.
I don't know. Okay, you were saying, I sort of cut you off twice.
So, I love Gish. I've been doing it for a couple years now. I was wondering if you have, what one of your favorite memories is of the trips that you go on with the winning teams to these amazing places.
We have been to some pretty cool locations. We went to Croatia, we went to Hawaii, and I got to see the volcano that was erupting, which was pretty cool. I felt pretty bad about that because I was like, that was part of the reason to go to Hawaii, was to get close to the volcano, but then the eruptions were so big that they closed the area completely. And I was like, but I still want to go. And they were like, "No, it's closed. The National Guard is like mandatory evacuated the entire area." And I said, "Yeah, I want to go." And so, long story short, I managed to get in with the National Guard, but they wouldn't take the whole 2 weeks. So I was like the asshole who just went himself. I think one nice memory from Gish Winter's trip, we did one in a haunted castle in Scotland, and it was actually really cool. It was a 14th century massive castle that had 12-foot thick walls and an actual dungeon where people had been drawn and quartered. Pretty cool. And one of the, oh my god, it was a funny team. It was a fan of Supernatural had come to her roommate and said, "Hey, I'm going to be doing the scavenger hunt. Do you want to join?" And the roommate was like, "Yeah." And then that roommate, who was not a fan of Supernatural and had no idea who I was, reached out to a couple of friends, and all of her friends wanted to do it too. And then she came back to the roommate and said, "Hey, I got a bunch of friends that want to do it." And the original Supernatural fan was like, no, that's too many people. You do your own team. And then that team, so there were no Supernatural fans, nobody on the team knew who I was. They won, and the original Supernatural fan roommate never spoke to her again. That's a sweet story, isn't it? And then on the winter trip, the boyfriend of that original roommate did a little scavenger hunt in the haunted castle one night that led to a ring that he proposed to her at the castle, and I've stayed friends with those guys ever since. That's a good story, right? And it's in keeping with tonight's theme of talking about engagements. Thank you. Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So my question is, what are your biggest hopes, goals, dreams, other synonyms for ambitions in life, and do you feel like you've achieved them?
No. Well, no, I don't. I think probably for a long time I was writing down my goals for maybe a couple of decades. I was writing my goals very assiduously every day and trying to focus on a lot of kind of like material achievements, like I want to achieve this particular project or objective. And it was pretty effective because I would actually end up checking a lot of those things off. But now my ambitions are largely just to try to be happier and more well-balanced and not to, and actually be less focused on trying to impress myself or accomplish things. I haven't gotten there, but I'm working.
Work is good, progress is good.
Okay, all right. Thanks for the pep talk. Yes.
Curious, since joining the show, what is your best or worst experience being on the show?
I think I have a worst that stands out, so I'll go there. I think it might have been like I can't remember if it was the very end of season 6. I think it was the very end of season 6. I was becoming possessed by Leviathan, and I had this black goo that was coming out of my nose and my mouth, my ears. And it was, I don't know what it was. It didn't taste good. It was just disgusting and viscous. It also happened, that night of shooting, happened to coincide with me getting really terrible food poisoning. So they would like you can't stop production because you're not feeling well. Like there's no calling in sick when you're filming. And they would put the goo and stuff in my mouth, and I'd like do a take and then run over to the garbage can and throw up. And I was in my trailer in between setups, and I was like, oh my God, I have to go to the bathroom. Oh wait, I have to throw up. I couldn't figure out which one I had to do more. It was an awful, awful, awful night. And eventually Jensen was like, you know what? It was like I was throwing up in a garbage can. He was like, I'm gonna call this, guys. We're gonna have to figure out another time to shoot this scene, which I really appreciated because I did not feel good. But yeah, it's something that, it's a kind of an interesting job where there's 130 people on the crew ready to work, and they can't do it without you. And typically we can't just shuffle scenes around. There's too much logistics, so you have to show up when you're expected to show up. When Mason was born, I was shooting, and I told them in advance, like, I'm gonna be there for my daughter's birth. I'm not gonna be at work. And they're like, yeah, okay. And then I was like, so just write me light in the episode that falls around this date, and I was in it every day around that date. They didn't care. And then Vicky went into labor, and I called in. I was like, he's in labor. I'm gonna work today. And they were like, what? I was like, yeah, be there. And they were like, all right, well, this was in the morning. Like, all right, well, we'll check in with you. And they were calling like every half hour. Like, so can you come in now? Can you come in now? Luckily, labor took 2 days. So Mason's birth probably cost Warner Brothers like $300,000. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, this is my nephew Emmett. I bring him everywhere.
Hi. Do you like being brought around, or is this sort of like a kidnapping situation? Oh, good.
I got him into the show.
Emmett, is that your name?
Yes.
How old are you?
8.
You're 8? How long have you been watching Supernatural for?
1 year old, say.
So, okay, since you were 7?
Yes.
Do you think it's caused any lasting emotional scarring?
He's wondering if you get nightmares.
Well, nice to meet you. Yeah.
So our question is, what, in the show, what monster or creature are you glad, like, is just fictional and it lives in the show, and which one you wish is real?
I would say probably, I'm glad that the fictional character of Sam is fictional. I think that would be terrifying in real life. It's like a giant, dangerous, abusive beast. And then which one do I wish was real? Probably that naked Cupid guy. He would be a great sidekick to bring around with you everywhere. You get invited to every party if he was coming with you. Yeah, I like that idea.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. So my friend and I were wondering, do you ever feel weird or awkward seeing your face everywhere on t-shirts or like when people cross-stitch your face? Like I did.
Or crochet.
I'll tell you what's really weird is how quickly I'm generalizing. How quickly I adapted to that. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, whoa, that's crazy. What? And now I'm like, yeah, obviously you would cross-stitch my face. It's quite surreal. I think that if you get exposed to something enough, anything, you become inured to it somehow, and it feels normal. I think now, if I didn't see, drawings of my face or cross stitches of my face, I'd be like, what's wrong? Nobody like me anymore? So, Emma, you don't have nightmares or anything? Doesn't it scare you? What? How is that possible? That ghost, since he was 2? You're a great aunt. You're a fun aunt. Did you start setting it down in front of scary shows because you thought it was funny, or you wanted to see him cry? Oh, you don't want to watch Teletubbies. You like that stuff, so you figure he can tough it up. Yeah. And besides, you're not going to be paying for his therapy later, so that's right. You'll probably, you may be fine in the long run. My godson also watched scary things when he was quite young. When he was 5, his mother set us down, like I was going to babysit, like put in the DVD, and it was Saw. And I was like, we have another choice, and she's like, no, that's all we have. And then he watched Saw, and I had to go into the other room because I was fucking terrifying. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Anita. This is my sister Candace. It's her
Hi,
first
Anita.
time.
Hi, Candace.
My question, since you've been all over the country helping so many,
What are you
and
doing down there, Candace?
She's videoing.
Videoing, but you wanted to get like the low-angle nostril cam shot. You were saying?
You've been all over, influenced so many, and been to so many countries.
Good club. All right, here you go. Okay, you were saying?
All over the place, you inspire others. What country have you not been to that you'd like to inspire others? For everything you've done, it's been all over the country, you've visited so many countries. What country have you not been to that you'd want to inspire others?
I have always wanted to go to Mongolia for some reason. There was a movie that I saw called The Last Eagle. It's a Russian language film about Mongolian herdsmen. That's a drama, not a documentary. And I know that's a great pitch. But I love it. It's so cool. And I've always wanted to go to Mongolia, but I keep on floating that as an idea for a Gish winter's trip, but it always feels like it's maybe a little bit too logistically difficult. But I would love to go. My kids, going back to Emma, our conversation earlier, my son is your age. He cannot watch movies because they terrify him. And we went about once every, I'd say 6 or 8 months, I try again. Maybe, he's ready. We went to see The Incredibles recently, The Incredibles 2 in the movie theater, and we made it about 20 minutes in before he started weeping. And we had to leave the theater. And he declared, that's it, I'm never going to another movie again. He likes Star Wars a lot, but it's just because he talks to his friends about it, and he feels like he knows everything about Star Wars. He for a long time had the plan that when he turned 11, he was going to go to, there's like a little symphony of babies in there. Island babies. Yeah. It's as if they know all about so his plan was that when he was 11, he was going to watch Star Wars. But after this traumatizing recent experience with The Incredibles, he decided that he thinks he knows the stories well enough and he doesn't ever have to watch Star Wars. But I'm broaching this topic because we have taken him successfully to a few movies, and they have been foreign language documentaries. And he seems okay with those. And it's partly because I have to talk to him the entire time, because this was, before he could read quickly enough to see the subtitles and know what was going on. So I would have to narrate to him. So the people that were sitting around us would all have to move because it was so annoying. And we saw The Eagle Hunters, which is another film about a documentary about Mongolia. In Mongolia. And Wes really liked that movie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, so I love you, obviously.
Was not immediately obvious, but thank you for saying.
And I was wondering, since you travel a lot, your favorite place that you visited, and if you have any crazy travel disaster stories that you could tell us.
Oh, what a great topic. Travel disaster stories. Sure, I've got a bunch of those. One of the most interesting places, actually, Great Adventures. This was 1995. We went to Nepal, and then we were going from Nepal to Tibet. That was our plan. But at the time, a Americans could not get visas to go into Tibet. But somebody had told us, we got a visa for Shanghai. Sometimes you can present that at the Tibetan border and they might let you in the country. So we got visas for Shanghai. But it was a long journey from where we were to the Tibetan border, and along the way we were really worried that we were going to be turned away at the border. So we found some guys that were crossing the border with a vegetable truck. It was like kind of like a giant pickup truck that was covered and open at the back. And we said, can we ride in the back of your truck across the border? So we got in the truck, and we buried ourselves under the vegetables to hide. So we were crossing the border. And of course, while they were stopped at the border, the Chinese guards came with the machine guns and poked into the vegetables and poked us, which didn't feel like vegetables. And I did this oh, I must have just nodded off on the vegetables packing. And then we tried to explain that, oh, we're just, covering ourselves in the vegetables for warmth. And then presented them with the visas, and miraculously they let us across the border. So we got into this border town, and there was just one hotel, and it was very seedy. And this little town, they didn't have a sewage system, so all of the sewage was just in the unpaved dirt roads. So it was like a medieval kind of sanitation situation where people were just dumping their, out in the street. And we checked into this hotel and we had some soup, which was a mistake. And later that night, we were in our room, and at night, the rats came out. And the rats were coming out these little holes in our room and scurrying all around the room. And so I was plugging up the holes where the rats were coming out. And then the rats would come out, and then they would not be able to get into the hole that they were expecting to do. And they'd panic, and then the rats were running all over the bed. And then we got really, really sick, bad dysentery. And we had to go out downstairs and across the sewage dirt road into this little outhouse. And the Tibetans were very small, so the outhouse was very tiny, it was very narrow. And it was a toilet paper free outhouse. And the technique for wiping was, no joke, wipe and then put it on a wall. I couldn't fit in there without touching my shoulders on the wall. And we had to go to the bathroom a lot. And we were so sick that we couldn't leave. We were there for 3 days with rats and shit shoulders. It was the worst experience imaginable. It was so gross. Yeah, that was fun. It was worth almost getting shot at the border for it. So there's a travel disaster story. Thanks for asking.
Thanks.
Hi.
Hi, Misha. My name is Crystal. I've participated in GESH the last 3 years.